Greetings. I really didn't know how to start this video, so I'm going to start with a prayer and thanking God for everything, really. I was raised Catholic by mostly my grandmother, but was never really close to God. I always believed in God, always knew that he was real for the most part, but I never had a connection, a close relationship with him. It wasn't until the last couple years that I surrendered and decided that the way things had been going, which were my plans, were no longer working. In fact, probably had never really worked that well. And although I was raised to believe in God and to be Christ-like, I was never taught, nor did I pursue a close connection or a personal relationship with him. And I say this because I think for myself, I always believed that there was something that I was supposed to be doing, like a script or something that I was supposed to be doing a certain way, praying a certain way, using certain words, being careful not to say certain things, or sometimes not praying at all, not talking to God at all because I was ashamed or embarrassed or filled with guilt because of the choices that I had made or was making at the time. And so I let that be a reason, an excuse not to try to get close to God. It wasn't until was it year before last, and the situation was that I was falsely accused of something I had not done, and I was incarcerated, and I had been in jail for a week with no phone call, and was unable to reach or communicate with anybody outside of those jail walls, and therefore could not get bonded out, could not contact my family for a whole week. And the day that I went to court, the judge basically informed me that although I had a bond on one of my cases, which is the retaliation from a deputy sheriff complaint that I had filed in 2021. It was retaliation, so it's all bogus, but nevertheless, it landed me in jail. The other case was non-bondable. It didn't have a bond at the first day, and it was for an alleged violation of a restraining order, a 20-year-old restraining order, allegedly from 2004. This is also false allegations and false arrest, false imprisonment. I found myself standing in front of the judge in handcuffs, and didn't have any resources to get any help or assistance outside of what the law provided me, which wasn't very much at the time. When I was in court, the judge allowed a $3,000 bond, for the alleged theft. but could not give me a bond on the, or sorry, a PR bond, rather, on the alleged violation of restraining order. And it also has a attempted burglary charge, which is ridiculous, but nevertheless, that's what it was. So before I left court, the judge had told me that because of the second allegation of violation of restraining order, I wasn't able to get a PR bond and therefore was not going to get out of jail that day. I was crushed because I knew that I was innocent, number one, and because, number two, I hadn't been able to communicate with anybody outside those jail walls, and it's my constitutional right to have one call from jail. I never got that call. I did file a complaint, a grievance, with El Paso County Sheriff, Criminal Justice Center, which is the jail in Colorado Springs, Colorado. But that didn't do anything. As far as I know, to this date, it was irrelevant to them. So when I left court that day, in court I was crying all the way back. Well, ride back to the jail from the court, I was completely upset. I was completely broke down. I was crying. I felt very hopeless. I couldn't understand why this was happening, how this could happen. And I knew that I didn't have any control over anything at this point. And the only thing that I could do that somewhat made me feel better was to surrender. Surrender when I got back to the jail. I cried a little more. And then I said, okay, God, this is where I am. Clearly, this is where I'm supposed to be at this moment. I don't know why. I'm scared. I'm angry. I feel defeated. I'm innocent, and I don't understand why this is happening. Please just make me feel better somehow, and I promise I will do whatever you want me to. And I just, at this time, I lay my life down and hand it over to your purpose for my life. And I meant it. And I cried myself to sleep after that prayer, and I just remember feeling some relief that I no longer had to try to fix everything that was wrong at the moment. And I went to sleep. It was probably about 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the evening, and I don't know how long it was, maybe an hour later, I woke up to the sound of my name being yelled by one of the deputies. And when I asked what was going on, I didn't hear quite what the deputy said. She said, "I said, pack your stuff, you're out of here." I couldn't believe what I heard. I had already kind of just accepted that I was going to be there for another couple months without a bond. And when they said, "You're out of here, you're bonded," I couldn't believe it. And sure enough, I was out a little while later. I do believe at this time, and at that time too, that it was due to my surrender, to my surrendering my will, my intentions, my plans, my everything, my control over to God, that allowed me to be freed and bonded out. I totally believe that. I don't, no one can make me think any differently at this point. It was so intense, the feelings, the realness, the reality of it all, the surrealness, that it could only have been God. especially with the position that I was in. Only God could have done that. I don't know who else could have. Definitely not the justice system. So I asked God, what do you want me to do? What's the plan? And then I remembered something that God had told me when I was about 7 years old, right before my mother passed away. And God spoke to me briefly while I was playing outside with my ball. And he only said one very short sentence that I'll never forget. And I, although was puzzled, knew that it was real. So what he said was, you will help people. I remember looking up in the sky because I heard it everywhere. The voice was out loud. It was something I could hear with my ears, not just in my head. And I remember looking everywhere because I was looking for who said it. And I don't know at that time that I knew that it was God, but I know now, and I do believe I knew then, but I didn't know. It was just a different understanding, I believe, that I had. And I remember looking up in the sky, saying, help people. Like, how am I supposed to help people? I'm a little kid, and I'm actually needing some help. And you know who my stepdad is? Like, really. I used to wake up every day and really be surprised that I was still alive and that my stepdad had not made good on his promise to kill us, me and my mother. So every morning that I woke up was a miracle for me. And that's just the way it was. So God had told me a long time ago that I was supposed to help people. And when I surrendered in jail, I remembered that and I agreed. And I remembered and I made my commitment to follow through with his purpose for my life, and that is to help people. I just didn't know how at the time, but I was down. So I want to thank God for speaking to me when I was so young, because that enabled me to have a purpose and something to hold on to, something to believe in, something to hope for, and something to feel connected to, hopeful. And I don't know that I knew how important that was as a child. I didn't really know how important it was. Looking back now, I'm like, wow, that doesn't happen every day. Not everybody says they talk to God. It doesn't matter if anybody believes me or not. It is what it is. But I didn't know the significance or the importance of it then as I do now. And now I realize that this is like a bunch of puzzle pieces coming together to complete this puzzle. And the completion of the puzzle is me sharing what I'm sharing right now, what I'm about to share. And that is what's going on. What's going on with me, what's going on with the world, what's going on with spirit. And right now, I'm in the biggest battle of my life. I'm in a spiritual battle. I'm in a real 3D judicial legal battle that is completely corrupt. It is completely malicious, and it's hard to almost believe that this is actually happening. Like, this is things that we sometimes hear just word of mouth, or conspiracy theories, or other people's stories, or in movies or something. But this is real. Like, it's happening to me. And it could happen to you. It could happen to your kids and your family and your friends. This isn't something that you could predict or I could predict. So with that said, I want to thank God again for allowing me to represent my purpose, and that is to help people, to empower them, and to provide the knowledge that I have so they can somehow grab a hold and utilize it to empower themselves and raise their vibration and raise their awareness to pass on to the next generation and to the rest of the family and to the kids and to whoever, to everyone. Because everyone should know what's going on, what's really going on. You can only be blind for so long. You can only turn your head for so long. I know now that I've awakened, I can't go back. There's just no going back. Now that I know, I can't unknow. So I'm so grateful that God gave me so many chances and still encourages me and protects me. And I didn't know this before, but I know now that I am very highly protected. And I mean in ways that are almost unbelievable. And if I didn't see it for myself, I would have a hard time believing what's really going on, the protection that I have through spirit and my ancestors and my entire spirit team. And I would have never said these words a few years ago. I would have not even known what to say to describe what's happening. My awakening, my spiritual journey. It's only been through the last few years that I've been completely enlightened, and I'm totally on board with what spirit needs me to do. And so many times I've wanted to quit, but I know I can't. This is my purpose. So if you don't know God, but you want to, it's not hard. I talk to him like a regular person now, like the homie, like the girl, like my girls, like not like he's a girl, but like you get it. I mean, like personal, like I have personal talks with him, carefree, because he already knows me. What am I trying to hide? And the things that I need help with that I feel like I should be ashamed of, I ask for his help to get better, to clear away, to rise above. I no longer feel that I can't talk to God because of my guilt or my embarrassment. It's part of the process. And I wish I would have known that before. Because there's a lot of times that I really could have used God, but he was still there. He was still there, and I know this. But knowing he's there has a different feeling inside for me. More calm, more peaceful. Just knowing that I am protected is half the battle. So I just want to close this part out of my story with thanking God for everything, for every single thing, and acknowledging him in all that I do, and keeping my eye on the prize, which is my purpose, and that is to help people. So with that said, I'm going to go on to my next topic, which is, okay, so my current position in life. Okay, so my current position in life is, well, it's complicated. I making a mess here. I don't want to be negative, but I do want to be honest, and I don't want to sugarcoat anything, because I think everything is relevant and everything is the way it is for a reason. So I'm going to include the good, the bad, the pretty, the ugly, and everything in between. So I'm going to start out with the fact that I am currently homeless. The first time that I was homeless, like homeless on the street, sleeping outside, and sometimes even on the sidewalk or a side street, was 2023 rather. And I never saw myself in this position. First time ever in a shelter, and I was 51 years old. The reality of what had happened, it happened so quick that there was no time to prepare to be homeless. It just was. And believe it or not, it was by choice. And the choice that I made was for a particular reason. And the reason was for the safety and welfare of my children, of my son, my youngest son, who I was living with at the time. The reason why I was homeless in 2023 was because I voluntarily left my son's house, fearing retaliation from police, El Paso County Sheriff in Colorado Springs, Colorado, El Paso County, Colorado, and Colorado Springs Police Department, CSPD. I had filed a complaint. Well, I'll take that back. I filed 2 complaints, but first I only filed one against a deputy from El Paso County Sheriff in November of 2021. In fact, the exact date was November 15th, 2021. 3 days later, I learned of the bogus retaliation warrant that I am still fighting right now at this moment. And because of the immediate retaliation I received, I was fearful for my son to receive any negative treatment from police or the law whatsoever. And so I chose to leave. I chose to be homeless to save my son from, hopefully save him from any retaliation by authorities and law enforcement. The fact that I was charged with a crime, an alleged crime, 3 days after filing my report is an obvious act of retaliation for filing my complaint. And my complaint was concerning my victim's rights. In 2019, I had an accident which required emergency surgery and landed me in the hospital for a total of a 10-day hospital stay. In the first part of that time, I learned that my home, which was a restored vintage travel trailer, had been broken into and vandalized, and everything worth anything stolen while I was in the hospital, unable to walk, laying in my hospital bed. I had filed a burglary report with Deputy Mallory LeGros of the El Paso County Sheriff's Office. And I do have printouts of the emails of our communication after I filed my report. In the end, as a result of this, I was denied victims' rights from misconduct by Deputy LeGros. I requested records for her report of my burglary of my home, rather, September 10th of 2021. And I can tell you this is a fact because there was a stamp on the records request, completed records request form that I handed in personally, in person, at the El Paso County Sheriff's Office. That was September 10th, 2021. And the records for that were used for my complaint filed November 15th of 2021. November 18th is when I received the notice of the bogus felony allegations, crimes, whatever. Was not arrested. So here's the thing. If I had warrants in September, which was only a couple months before November, obviously, I would have been arrested when I appeared in person at the El Paso County Sheriff's Office with my ID and my completed records request form. If I had any warrants at that time, I should have been arrested on the spot. Because the allegations for the alleged crimes were reportedly in 2020, a whole year prior. And I'll get into that later, but so that's pretty much how I can prove that that this is in fact retaliation, because these charges only popped up after I filed my complaint. And again, this can be proved by the date stamp by the El Paso County Sheriff's Office clerk, and that's proof that I did not have any warrants at that time. So this was all new as a result of filing my complaint. And my complaint was, however, substantiated, but not until March of 2022. And in that time, I had registered for school to be a paralegal, had got all my Pell Grants in place. I was ready to go. I was on board with Colorado Department of Book Rehab, who was supporting me through my education process, and I also had received and requested a ticket to work from Social Security because I've been on disability since 2009. So I went through a whole lot just to get to school and to empower myself, to learn more and to be a better person in society. But that was all cut off, and my future and my rights annihilated when they pressed these false charges, false allegations in November of 2021. According to federal law, people who have received Pell Grants cannot knowingly have any active warrants. And so, because that was now the case, I could not attend school and lost everything that I had worked so hard towards. Because the last thing I want to do is break the law when I'm trying to go to school to uphold it. Needless to say, I've never got to go, and I'm still fighting. So I'll go back to this homeless thing. So now you know why I chose to be homeless. It was for my son, my son's protection, his safety, and right after that, I found a place, rented a room from a man who ended up being nothing less than a tyrant, I don't know the words to describe this man. I do know that he was forcing me to work for free, which is pretty much labor trafficking. It's slavery. And when I finally was able to get away, I lost everything. He kept all my stuff, locked me out. He had locked me in before, locked me out, threw all my stuff outside. I have videos, but I couldn't do anything. I couldn't tell anybody because I had these bogus charges over my head from the police. So he got away with it. And this is how I became homeless on the street. Homeless is escaping basically human trafficking, slavery, labor trafficking. I did file a report with Colorado Department of Labor, but it doesn't do much when you're in that position and on your way out the door. Filing complaints for anybody, anything, doesn't do anything to help your situation. That's the truth. So I also filed complaints with the human trafficking hotline in Colorado, as well as the CSPD. And that's a whole different story, but that has never been... nothing's happened. Nothing's ever been done to this man, despite my reports. It's crazy how I can get arrested for completely bogus, made-up allegations, but serious allegations such as human trafficking are ignored by me. I don't see how that works. But I am not a chronic homeless person, although there has been a history of homelessness in between the years. And since I've done all the research and so much records request, what it comes down to is that almost every single time it's been the police and the law, the courts, who's made it my life this way, who's been responsible for me being homeless. And I'm not one to blame people for my bullshit or my shit, whatever. The only way I know this is because of records, is because I've done the research. I never thought that way before. I didn't think that way because I was too busy trying to keep my life together and trying to stay off the street, trying to keep, my kids fed and work and all that. I never thought to blame anybody, because why? What purpose would it serve? It wasn't until this all happened, and I started researching, that I realized that from the documentation, homelessness begins with law enforcement and the courts, quite literally. And I have the documentation to prove it, 100%. I stand by it. Again, I never thought this way before until I saw the literal documentation that shows exactly how it all went down. The homelessness, the suffering, the lack, the going without, and it is all because nobody was accountable. Nobody was held accountable, and nobody did what they were supposed to do except for me. And I can proudly say that. I am the only one who has been accountable this whole time, and I can prove that as well. So now this is my position. I'm homeless. I can't work because of these bogus allegations and charges that prevent me from passing a background check to get a job, even though that's all I really want, is to get up on my feet and to learn and to be a productive member of society. I proved that when I decided to go to school and did all the footwork to go to school and couldn't. I mean, I've done my due diligence then some. Yet I've gotten nowhere, and everything it's gotten worse for me. So this is why I'm here to tell my story, because none of this makes sense. None of this is right. My rights have been completely annihilated. And it was only at the time that I tried to assert my rights, my victims' rights, my civil rights, my rights in general, my human rights, that it got worse and worse and worse. So far, I have 2 complaints. Two deputy complaints with El Paso County Sheriff. Colorado Springs, Colorado. El Paso County, Colorado. Now, the first complaint was of Deputy LeGros for violating my victims' rights. They decided they weren't going to pursue my case, the burglary, when I was in the hospital. Didn't give me any reason, but they said they decided not to pursue my case. And when I said I was going to apply for victims' compensation because I was now homeless and unable to walk, I had lost everything. Everything had been stolen, rather, and I wasn't able to walk because I was still healing from my surgeries. I was told that they decided not to pursue my case, and I could not apply for, or I was not eligible for victims' services because, well, for the same reason, that they had decided not to pursue my case, and so I wasn't eligible for anything. So here I was homeless and couldn't walk, and not because I was homeless because I neglected to pay my rent or violated any lease. No. It was because I got burglarized while I was in the hospital. So, people talk a lot about homeless people, but has anyone ever thought to ask anybody how it happens? Like, I think most people assume that you're just lazy fuck if you're a homeless person, but that's so not true, and I'm here to testify to that right now. There's no homeless people in my family. Everybody in my family owns their home. My home was owned by my grandmother that I lived in the first time the police displaced me, or I was displaced because of the police and my ex-husband. And I have documentation on that. I had a 3-bedroom manufactured home. It was a trailer, so what? It was mine. It was paid for. And it was lost because I had to flee my own home to get away from my abusive husband the first time. With no protection from the law. And I, again, can prove this. So time after time after time, when I look at the documentation, I've been homeless when I have been homeless. It's directly due to the lack of accountability or the lack of follow-through or the lack of following the law, or the lack of upholding law by everyone but me. So later on, I'll show the documentation to confirm and verify and validate everything I've been saying. This is just the very beginning, but I just kind of want to give an outline of what I'm about to present, what I'm going to tell, and the proof is in the pudding. The proof is in the paperwork. When I was very young and I was raised by my grandmother, she always used to tell me that if it's not on paper, it didn't happen. And I always remembered that. And then in 1999, I had a workman's comp case. I was doing a lot of high-paced fast-paced support, internet support, to doing tech work, and got injured from a broken keyboard. Nevertheless, my attorney told me it was that one email that I had informing my employer that I had been injured by the defective keyboard that won my case, that prevented us from even going to litigation. So that's something I always remembered. The devil's in the details. And everyone should know that when it comes to law enforcement and their documentation, they are completely reckless. They are so arrogant and so sure that no one will ever check, that no one will ever care, that no one will ever look. And even if they do, what will they do? No one's ever going to file cases against the police. It's the police. And for the most part, they're right. I never thought it would come to this after I filed my complaints. Would I do it again? Absolutely. Somebody has to. Everyone should. I don't think anyone should not. Because it's those decisions not to assert your rights or to uphold your rights or fight for your own rights that is killing us now. That is annihilating everyone's rights because no one is standing up and saying it's wrong, so it continues to happen. And it will continue to happen. It will continue to get worse if it doesn't get dealt with now. My complaints aren't only just about the police. It's also about the courts, DHS, and I'll tell you, with the amount of documentation or proof of so much corruption that I have, I really need some people on my team. I need some trustworthy, strong, powerful people on my team because they have them on theirs. And I guess that's part of my video and my reaching out right now is to get help and to beg and plead and to pray some more that those people that have the ability to help are brought to me or are shown to me or in my path. Because I'm 100% on board with helping everyone, especially myself. But once I got it, I want to share it. And the other thing is, any financial awards that come out of this, any of this, will have already been decided that 90% of it will go to the people, to helping the people, direct services to help the people, directly helping people. And that's, well, what I have committed to. And I hope that makes a difference. I believe it will. I believe that not hoarding the money, not being greedy about it, not taking it all for myself, sharing it and blessing a lot of other people is the right thing to do for so many reasons. Many blessings are better than one. And that's the plan. So I hope the people that need to hear me in this message, hear my needs and my commitments, and get on board and do the right thing for the greater good of all, because this is what it's come down to. So now that's kind of where I am. I'm actually seeking asylum, a safe place, because there is no safe places here with corrupt law enforcement. I did file another complaint regarding the bogus retaliation charge. However, El Paso County Sheriff Internal Affairs had decided that it was not substantiated. My complaint was not substantiated. However, they did not read. They did not read the reports, or they would not agree. There was no way they could say that there was nothing wrong, that their deputy hadn't done anything wrong if they had read. So I also have complaints regarding El Paso County Sheriff's internal affairs, because they are also on board with the corruptness. They are fully aware of what's going on, and they are covering for their male deputy. They threw the female under the bus, but the male deputy, Deputy Mark Carley, they're fighting for him. They're fighting hard for him. But they threw the female under the bus with the quickness. I'll tell you what. She no longer works there, but yes, I do have the substantiated complaint in writing. I also have my my 4-page complaint regarding Deputy Carley and the bogus allegations. I have all the reports. I had all the reports a year before I even got arrested. And I'm going to share all those with everyone. And also explain how I received them, or how I got them, how I came about receiving them. Some of the documents I have, I had just for over the years in emails, mostly in emails or other communication letters, documents that I had in my personal files, but that I've just held on to for years and years. And because my grandma always told me, if it's not on paper, it didn't happen. And she always encouraged me to file my paperwork, to keep all my paperwork. And so I did. And when I went through that box of paperwork, 30 years of paperwork and documentation, in 2021, I quickly learned the details of the corruption, the patterns of malicious prosecution, malfeasance, of corruption. I mean, it's clear as day. I even actually received over a 20-year overdue restitution, because in the state of Colorado there's no statute of limitations on restitution or receiving restitution. And I had overdue restitution for over 20 years. I finally got that in 2021. That's only because I started researching and I started learning and educating myself on my rights. And I went after that money. I got it. And that was a victory for me. And after that's when I decided to be a paralegal. So there is a story here. There is lots of stories here. There's lots of goings-ons. And I almost wouldn't believe it if I hadn't gone through it myself, because how can it be this bad? How can they be this corrupt? How can all this go unknown and unresolved and unlooked at? Like, how come we are this far down and no one's even noticed or done anything? Like, I have a hard time comprehending why so many people are not standing up. Is it because we just don't know? Maybe that's it. So maybe that's why I'm here, is just to share what I've learned and share what I know. In Colorado, I think effective of 2022 or 2023, there's no more qualified immunity. I never got to receive any type of award or any court decision regarding my substantiated complaint against El Paso County Sheriff. So that's still an open thing. Like, I've never been reimbursed. I've never been, compensated for anything. In fact, it just keeps getting worse. I just keep losing everything because of this complete corruption. It's scary, actually. But would I do it again? Absolutely. It's been hard. Let me tell you, it's been so hard. But nothing will change without something being done. I mean, it'll never change if everything stays the same. That's clear. I just hope that people listen and learn and get everything they need from what I'm about to share, so they can free themselves and hopefully get everybody on a better road, on a better vibe, on a better plane, on a better level, on a level playing field. We just got to know what we don't know now. And that's the key. So I'm going to go ahead and close out for now, because I feel like I'm kind of going in circles, that I really want to, just encourage every watcher right now to come back and watch more videos, because I'm going to be sharing a lot of explanation details of how I came to where I am, and all the knowledge that I've gained. And it's been years in getting this, but I'm willing to share it with anyone who wants to know. And if you can help, that's awesome. That's awesome. God bless you. And if not, I hope you can get, or everyone can get, anything they can and everything they can out of this information I'm about to share. So with that, Dios te bendiga. God bless you. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.